Okay, everyone, in the interest of time, I think we should get started because we're not going to do just this activity till 6 o'clock. We have 2 or 3 different things planned, and we have a hard stop for this particular part of the session at 5, and I know a lot of people would like to speak. So the whole, I think we have a volunteer, yeah. Wonderful, yeah, great. So the whole idea of this session was that, while we are here to rejoice and recollect about our times at MUCI, it's also very important to reflect on where we are, where the movement is, how the movement has impacted our lives. And so we'd like to structure a broad conversation around that. But I think before that, what we'd like to do is have just a few people kickstart the discussion by talking about what they're doing. So if you could just follow the following format and say, my name is, I'm originally from so-and-so, I currently live here, and what I'm doing right now is this, and maybe try and look at it through the lens of how your experience, not just at MUCI, but also as part of the UWC movement in general, has affected you and the position you currently hold in the world. Make sense? Yes? Okay, great. So we have several volunteers. Who would like to start first? Nico? Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Nico, I totally forgot now. Yes. I have to show one document before we go through them. Just 1 second. So,
can I comment at the same time or? I'm joking.
So basically, I think part of this reflection is also to understand the changes that are happening in the movement and how you guys can contribute to that theory of change. And while the schools are making such a theory of change document on their own, I'll just quickly let you see what the national committees are doing. So can we please see that document? So you don't have to read all of it now, it's quite comprehensive, but just to give you an idea of the work that is happening, yeah. So, yeah. And well done, yes, sir. Excellent. I think that ended perfectly, but we'll share that document with everyone so that they can look at it. That's happening at the national committee level. That was something prepared by the Committee of National Committees, but we will share it. So Nico, please go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Man, Lilia, she's been here for 5 minutes. Hey, everybody. So my name is Nico. I'm from France originally. Now I live in Israel with Kheli, who is my co-year. Everybody knows this. We have 3 children. Exactly, I hope so. We worked really hard at it. So yeah, so I live in Israel. We've been living there for about 5 years. And I'm a correspondent for French media over there. I kind of got in, this year has been especially challenging, obviously. A lot going on, everybody's aware of what's the situation over there. For me, it's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years. The conflict doesn't happen just because it's in the headlines. It's all the time, it's every day. And we have, as a foreign correspondent there, I have the amazing luck or ability or opportunity perhaps to be able to go to see every side, to be able to talk to everybody. And my job, as the way I see it anyway, is not necessarily to bring the factual, the facts of what's happening on the ground, but rather to be able to interpret it for other people, to be able to understand the situation. Seeing it from the outside, it feels like we're doing a pretty shit job, but whatever, this is what we do. I was thinking about this when Abhishek came to me yesterday, and we talked about this, about how my MUCI experience kind of affected the work that I do, and it brought back an anecdote actually. So I'm gonna start with that, which it wasn't on campus. It was once we went down to a village with community development, which was this thing that we were running at the time, and I was with alumni and Malte, and we were just talking to some village elder, and at some point of time, some kid came running in, and his mother told him off, and then everybody was a bit silent, and Gautam was feeling really out of place, and then the elder started laughing and then got them translated, and he said, well, his mom said that if he does it again, she'll send him up to the hill with the devils over there. And it was an interesting situation. But I think, in a way, the reason why I'm saying that is because I think a lot of the UWC experience at the end of the day was about appreciating that complexity, the thing that we all live with, the different situations, the backgrounds we come from, obviously the national backgrounds we come from, but also our personalities, our individualities, the things that we're now reconnecting with in the last couple of days. And I think, obviously, for me, that's a major part of what I do now, to be able to see every side, every point of view, to be able to explain in simple ways very complex situations, and kind of being able to also obviously delve deeper and see the human at the heart of it all. And I think in the sense, for me, that's what the university experience should be about anyway. Not so much about the academia, not so much about the other things that we're talking about, but really about that, about the human experience. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have some very eminent guests here, and so you can say your hellos. Great. So I was just going to say, if I can ask either Sharda or Cyrus to speak next and put them on the spot as they did when they were my teachers 20 years ago, that would be great.
Thank you, Rohan. Right, so let me just first, I was here all the way through 2016. Then I went off to head a school in Mumbai called the Bombay International School. And I'm handing over the principalship in September when I turn 61. So yeah, all good things come to an end. And to some extent, really, I think the last 8 years were very useful to me to sort of reflect on the previous 18 years, from 98 to 2016, because education is in a bit of a crisis, and that crisis is, I would say, caused by a lot of things. You can talk about social media, you can talk about things, but it's also caused by parents. I mean, parents are just too clingy with their kids. Yeah, all of you with little ones, please note. And so when I moved to a day school, it's sort of, it's like, I mean, the kids are chronologically the same age, but they're kids. We would never call you kids here, right? We would call you students and blah, blah, blah. And if any teacher in her first month made the mistake of calling you kids, would be sharply reprimanded. But yeah, so I think UWCs as a place away from home become all the more important now at a time where, parents are encroaching on late adolescence. I think the lovely thing about Muki was, and I don't know about UWCs or the UWC movement, in your time we rarely talked about the movement, we talked about Muki, and that's what I know, honestly. I've sort of visited a few other UWCs, but I'm no specialist in them. So I think when I look back, the lovely thing about Muki was, understanding that you guys, some of you were barely even adults, but the point is, we treated this place like college. We gave you the freedoms that come with being in a college. It was hard, but I think everyone learned a lot. And I think, when I interact with all of you, when I interacted with the previous two batches that I met up with in Mumbai, I'm just absolutely amazed at all the wonderful things you do, and the kinds of energy and to use Nico's words, your understanding of complexity is wonderful. I don't think any other UWC and any other high school produces so many PhDs and media people and teachers and all of that. And I think, that's a testament to, I think the education in complexity that all of you received. It happened somewhat serendipitously. I don't think, we had a very definite plan, and maybe that was part of the plan, part of David's plan at least. and somehow we struck a balance between, giving a lot of people what they wanted from the experience, not imposing a single, this is the UWC mission. It became a little bit like that 10 years later, where the complexity was lost and it became slightly reduced to some slogans. But in your time, it worked absolutely wonderfully, and that's why you're all the wonderful people you are. So yeah, Sharda, I want to add.
I always say I only speak in class and not outside, but Yuki taught me to love nature, and that's what I do. I roam around all over India looking for that one bird or the animal, and I'm having a great time. Yeah. So yeah, I love Yuki, and come to see you all, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful. Could we go to Maithili next?
Hi, I'm Maithili. I'm from Mumbai originally and back in Mumbai since the last 11 years. With my husband here this weekend, who's napping currently, and he's in my life because of my co-year, Nirali, who I'm very grateful for also. So I currently work for the Canadian government, and I work for the Consulate General of Canada in Mumbai for the government of British Columbia, so it's a provincial government, and I do trade and investment for them. I've been on and off with the government for about 7.5 years. I started off as a cultural officer doing cultural diplomacy for them, bringing artists and creators to India from Canada, and transitioned into a more trade and investment role, bringing business from Canada into India and getting investments from India back to Canada. One of the most, I don't know, anecdotal or amazing things about whatever trajectory my career has taken. I went through the art world before coming here. I worked for an auction house, for a performing arts center, and then ended up over here as well in a consulting company as well. But throughout my life, I've always found UWC connects everywhere. At every stage of my life, at every place I've worked at, there has been a UWC Connect. Nihal Chauhan and I realized we were both at UWC at Prime Minister Trudeau's reception in Mumbai. Like, we were sitting on the sidelines and talking, and then we were like, oh, you're from UWC? I'm also from UWC. So we struck a deal also, which was great. So it's just that network and that sense of community that extends beyond just MUCI as well, other UWCs, and feeling that sense of kinship and community beyond just these hills as well. I think that's one of the things I've taken away with me.
Thank you. We go to Mr. Banerjee next.
Thank you. So, hi guys, Abhishek. I am originally from Mumbai. I now live with my lovely wife in Rotterdam in the Netherlands for the last 9 years. I work in a company in Unilever, a company called Unilever in the Netherlands now. What I do is Unilever, actually I'll tell the story of the MUCI impact, and then this where I work will make more sense. For me, it was actually a very straight line. There was a line at the time, the mission of MUCI, one of the versions of the mission was to create politically, environmentally, and socially aware agents of change. This is a line that I remembered. And I left thinking, okay, now how do I do that now? And I actually still don't have the resilience to be a journalist or to be a musician. I need to work where something will be a bit more assured in life. But I also thought, okay, if I need to do this, I made my decision that if you want to have an impact, in the end of the day, you can't change the world without changing the way big corporations work. That was something that made sense to me at the time. It still does. So, and I picked a company called Unilever, which I believed, and again still do believe, is trying its best to be a responsible company. And so the position I have now is Unilever has made it quite a while ago, a lot of very ambitious environmental and social sustainability commitments. And I work actually in the team that delivers those commitments, making sure when we buy things, they don't cause deforestation, or everybody that's growing our crops or whatever is paid a fair wage, we make sure whatever water we take is replenished, we're stewards of water, etc. And yeah, it's pretty clear to me that I would never have thought of going down a line like this if I didn't come here. So Miyuki has made my life, and I've thought many times if I had not come here, if I had gone to a normal Indian +2 and engineer, doctor, lawyer, followed that line, my life would have been very different. So it still stuns me, and I don't know, my wife would not talk on the mic, but later she's spoken to many of you. I think she would say that this is school like this, all these people you know, it's nuts that this is just something that I take for granted. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I get to speak to many of you again.
Thank you. Okay, can we go to David next?
Okay, I am David Dye, originally from southern Kansas and currently living in Kansas City, roughly 200 kilometers north of there. And 22 years ago I showed up here, and we're going to skip over a lot of things. These days I work as the Director of Customer Service for eVelo electric bicycles, and we offer a decent product that we charge far too much for, specifically because we are known for having the best service of any industry. So we do well at what we do. It doesn't seem especially relevant, so I'm going to back it up. I arrived here with absolutely no idea what to expect. India was just completely blank on my map, and during the interview for selections, they asked why India for my first choice, and the only answer was that I had an idea of what to expect in the other places and no reference whatsoever for India, and seemed like the right thing to do to go find out. And somewhat famously, this felt like home almost immediately. India and I just got along, and whether it's navigating the Byzantine transportation networks that official, unofficial, whatever it takes, just getting along with how life happens in India. And part of that was that I made it a point to at least learn some Hindi. I should have worked harder at that, but there were distractions. And that might seem like maybe a noble thing or just even a hard thing, but growing up in a very rural area in the center of the US, my actual motivation for learning Hindi was maybe not so great. And it bothered me at the time when immigrants would come to the US and not bother to learn English. It seemed wrong. So for me to go to India and not at least try to learn the local language would have been hypocritical. And at that time, I would have said that I was not particularly conservative, but also maybe I just didn't know how far the spectrum could go. And living with all of you wonderful people, you can't help but be changed by the experience of every person you meet. And everyone in this room is remarkable for many reasons. And I've been so fortunate to get to meet with quite a few of you between then and now, even outside of the reunions, and even other UWC alums along the way. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from our time here was just that the world is so vast that we can't really comprehend all of the possibility, and that you should seek out to enjoy every last bit of it that you can and appreciate it all. And so we want to try to bring that back to the present day. Part of why I'm able to do what I do is that appreciation for various perspectives and trying to learn to understand the other person's position. Not necessarily, my role is somewhat adversarial with the customers in that I'm trying to limit our expenses, and it's not really the metric we care about the most, but it's part of it. But more importantly, when we have some issue that doesn't necessarily fit neatly into the bracket of what we've seen before, being able to try to empathize with other people and to consider that even when I have a great team under me. They do fantastic work and truly deserve nearly all of the credit. With that, sometimes there's still times when I have to make the change, even over what they would have said, and I want my team to do their jobs without me intervening. So I hate doing this, but occasionally there'll be a perspective that no one else caught, and that's one of the things that I took away from here was just being able to try to consider as many angles as possible, and whether that was from global affairs or hearing different sides of the same story from people who lived on each side of it, and just continuing to interact with all of you through the years. It's never just what you do, it's also how you do it. And the job I have now is, there's not a lot of opportunity to instill values, but we do try to work with suppliers who actually treat their staff fairly, pay them real wages, and especially with production in China, that can be a bit of a touchy subject sometimes. But more to the point, it's kind of what I can do otherwise, and so throughout my whole life, the service has still been a part of it. And I can't help but think that the expectation that you are going to go and serve your community here helped to influence that as well.
Thank you very much, and you can pass it to Prab right next to you.
Okay, I still remember how to do that because Abhir has been making jokes that after my year, Bobo and I ran sound and lights for the MPH. They had to hire a professional because we screwed up so badly. I can still turn a mic on. Okay, so I'm Prab. I'm from India originally. I've spent the better part of the last decade in Southeast Asia. And I've had the privilege of working in a couple of different industries, and most recently took an entrepreneurial leap 2 years ago to build something in e-commerce and collectibles. So if any trading card and Lego nerds are out there, happy to chat. The story for me about coming to UWC, when I think about moments that stand out to me, it almost goes back to selections. It was like getting to this hill the first time, and I'm an army kid. I bounced around a bunch, studied in small towns mostly. And you come into that selection room after administration, they put you there, and then there was this one exercise that they took us to the social center for. It was like chart paper and all. Like right from there, for someone who hadn't touched the IB, who hadn't sort of been put in a room in an environment with people who were like, just thinking a little differently and trying to figure out how to put perspectives across and things on a board, I left there terrified. Because I was like, if I don't get in here, what am I going to do? And I think my parents were especially harrowed because this is all I could talk about on the way back, and we were in a small town called Jodhpur at the time. But I was lucky enough to come here. And then the other thing that I talk about, and I did not know that Hector would be in the room, was what I still count as supercharging my curiosity as a person is I took philosophy higher. I had no idea there was an education system that allowed you to take philosophy as a high school student. And I was doing physics, chemistry, and bio in CBSE and hating the hell out of it. Chemistry was not bad. Maybe I shouldn't do so much talking. This philosophy classroom was very, very odd because the whole the purpose of this class was to argue with each other in ways. So that's how I took it. You kind of read this and you were like, go figure out an opinion, and then argue it against somebody else. And you weren't talking about little things. You had Kant and existential concepts, and Hannah Arendt got thrown in there, and you were just like in a whole different dimension of conversation and thought And like, I think that for me lit a curious spark, which hopefully there was like an ember of, but it's something that I have carried through me along the way, right? It just, and this now makes life very difficult for my wife, because I think every 3 years I get bored with my industry or the country we're living in, and we're privileged enough that I just have no hesitation jumping to a new country at the drop of a hat, and we'll figure it out. We'll start with which UWC kids are there and go from there, right? Like, I think these foundations that got built, they affect me as a person, and that's why my experience, I think formative is a very good word. We learned from the classroom, we learned from the people. I give a lot of credit to the IB as a curriculum, or maybe now that I meet other IB kids, I think I give credit to the way IB was taught here. The journeys that you gave, because when I talk to even UWC SEA parents, yeah, the Muki lens is completely different. And maybe to just wrap things up, I found the values that I have to make their way in my decision making in very subconscious ways. When you're constantly thinking about just what you're doing, every now and then, and maybe this is again the whole questioning element, you start to wake up and think, hey, why am I doing something? Am I making an impact? Am I happy? And I think this was an existential concept we wrestled a lot with when we were here, but then we all got hit by this wall of reality and find a job and earn some money and family, and we kind of forgot maybe a little bit of that message. But my personal experience has been, it stays there. It's there as a little layer. And it kind of helps us chart our journeys along the way. And that's something I'm very grateful for, because as much as I've had a chance to meet and work with amazing people, I hope that I can share a little bit of what I took away from here. And that makes the world a little bit of a better place and fosters communication. And to just wrap things up, we are all products of globalization in a good way. There continues to be a war on that global communication today, which is, I would say, a very great threat to our progress. And if you can even continue to influence your other circles and maybe tell some more kids about UWC, because there are many who don't know about it, it will be a great thing to share this experience with others.
Thank you, Greg. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I'd like someone here to speak, and she won't tell you this particular anecdote, but I will. And I think that's a great introduction. It's humorous, but it also shows just how much experience she has in the movement. That's Kinga. Kinga has been with either the Polish National Committee for 7 years and then the Great Britain National Committee for 10 years. And the anecdote is that when she was recently at College of the Atlantic, and many of you know that recently the Princess of Spain graduated from UWC Atlantic. The Queen of Spain walked up to Kinga and said, "Who are you? You seem very, very important." And the princess happened to be walking by at the time and says, "Mummy, here she's more famous than you are." So I think the lens that Kinga can bring to this discussion is really having seen from sort of a view of 17 years what's happening in terms of the students you've selected and what's happening in the movement. I think that information will be really valuable to us, and we can take some questions after that. We can continue this exercise of everyone introducing themselves and talking a little bit about themselves. This was very random, and the people who volunteered, so I don't want anyone to feel like they were left out or singled out in that sense. These were just the people who volunteered at the last minute. So thank you. Kinga, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rohan. So to follow the standard, I'm Kinga. I'm originally from Poland. Now I live in the UK, and I'm head of promotions and selections for the British National Committee. And I've been doing that for way too long. And as Rohan said, I have seen the movement change a lot and the students change. I think there's few things here that I could really talk about in terms of that progress that we've seen. And one of the things that kind of goes back to what other people were saying, like Nico and Cyrus, is that our access to world and worldview has changed, thanks to people like Nico. But what we're seeing today is a very skewed perception of the world. And more often than not, we see students who go to UWC and they struggle. Particularly when they go to UWCs that are outside of Europe and outside of their comfort zone. Back 20 years ago, when we went to India, our knowledge was very limited, and it was all about going into the unknown, about learning as we go, and about building resilience. Kids today come with a lot of preconceptions. They go on Instagram, they talk to other people, but Instagram has this amazing side to it. It only shows you the positives. It never shows you the challenges. It never tells you the things you have to learn and overcome. And as sad as the story is, we just had a student withdraw from China, and the reasons for withdrawal was that there was too many Chinese, too much Chinese food, and people on the streets were pointing fingers at them because they were white. And it is absolutely amazing that in the world that is on face value so connected and so open and so accessible, I'm looking straight at you, Nico, mainly also thanks to people like Nico, whose job is to explain that world, I can still have a 16-year-old who is surprised that there's Chinese in China. Right? Because their expectation from the few tourist pictures of China is that there's plenty of white people on the Great Wall of China, because yes, they're tourists, but when you go to an average town, they're not there. And I think this is something that kind of brought me to where I am now as a head of selections, as someone who's also doing a university counseling, that as much as I believe that every young person should spend a couple of years, particularly those formative years, in a place that is very, very, very different from what they used to and what they know, to get a chance to see how world can be run differently. There is also a little bit more, thanks to the overbearing parents and the Instagrams, there's a little bit more caution that we have to take in saying that there's no such thing as the best school, but there is the best school for you. And that may or may not be a place that is as diverse and as challenging as UWC, that may not be a place that is in a country that is so different from what you're used to. It may be something that is more familiar. And that trend has been happening and unfolding in front of my eyes for the last 17 years, with every year getting more kind of sensitive to that. And since COVID in particular, with much more surveillance coming from the parents, with much more pressure and expectations coming from the parents, and then the same kids entering UWC these days, having lost the 2 preteen years, those years when you learn to communicate, when you learn to build relationships, those years being locked up in their own rooms, these kids struggle the most. I really hope that in a few years that will be reversed, but at the moment this is a trend that is very, very visible. And I know last week I talked a little bit about it. I think one thing, it's great that today, and we're all on WhatsApp and we're communicating while we're here and we're texting and we have our WhatsApp groups. But I think that the internet and the technology that we now have at UWCs is one of the reasons also why students tend to struggle more. Because parents know all the time where they are, and suddenly, oh my God, it's 10 p.m., why aren't you in your room yet? You should be studying or you should be sleeping, why are you still out and about? Because they have live preview. But also there's another thing, when we were homesick, when we wanted to cry, when things were not good for us, we would talk to our roommates, we would talk to our friends, we would go and talk to our teacher, and yes, we would call our parents, but a couple of days later, when it was, yeah, mommy, I miss you, but it's okay, I talked to someone, I really miss you, I really hope that when I come home you make my favorite dish, I miss that, but but all is good. Today, the moment that the homesickness hits, they're on a phone. Without processing, without building that resilience, and many of us here in this room are now parents, we all know that the moment your child cries to you, you're going to jump to the defense. Regardless of whether it's a normal feeling, whether they're right or wrong, you're going to jump immediately. And so schools, including UWCs, get more and more of that helicopter parenting, coming and complaining you're doing something wrong, where in fact it is the same experience that we've had, it's just it doesn't have that buffer anymore. And on that I'm going to say I really wish that the fight we've had with Prabha back on a hill that the internet never made it to the waters. I really wish for that. And I kind of wish we didn't have WhatsApp, particularly in places like this. I think that has been the biggest, the most drastic change. And to this day, my favorite place at UWC Atlantic when I visit is the dining hall. It's out of Harry Potter, it's absolutely beautiful, but that's not the reason why it's my favorite. It's the one place on campus where there's no reception on Wi-Fi, GSM, nothing. And you sit there, and doesn't matter what happens, no one can call you, you can't reach anybody, and you walk out and suddenly you get 100 messages, but that doesn't matter. Once you're there, the world comes to a standstill, and it's the most magical place ever. So, yeah, that's me for the change that I've seen over 17 years in the students and how they react to that phenomenal environment of UWC.
Thank you very much, Kinga. So we have 8 minutes before our next activity. So are there any questions that Kinga can address? Because she's a very valuable resource for us to have here in terms of that change in the movement. Anything anyone would like to know? Any questions?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So what do you think we can do, like as people who have experienced this closeness, to support the new generation who is struggling with all that?
I think there's a lot that can be done, and I think there's a lot that we can do both on a school level as well as your country level. Because every country, every national committee runs different orientation program for students. And it's actually going there as, what we now like to be called dinosaurs, but actually talking about those experiences and explaining that importance of being here. Right now I can actually meet graduates who don't speak English, which is absolutely mind-blowing. There's also a lot that schools can do, of course, but it's much harder to push for massive change as a school. I know Changshu put a shut off for internet at 1 a.m. and my parents rioted, being like, oh my God, how dare you cut off internet at 1 a.m.? My students need access, they have to call me. I'm like, I can help you, I can totally go to school and have a chat with them, but I would be pushing for cutting off internet at 6 p.m., not 1 a.m. 1 a.m. they should be asleep, right? Or talking. But I have to be an adult now, I have to be like, I should be asleep, but you don't need that internet. And I think, on one hand, you can do a lot by working with your national committee on building that orientation program and preparing students from your own country, whether it's your country of origin or country where you currently live, in that importance of physical connection and drilling that into your students. And on the other hand, of course, there's a lot that we can try and engage in conversations with parents and schools for how that can be navigated and managed. And of course, I'm sure Gaurav and teachers will be able to tell us that there's also a lot more that is linked with not just the internet, but other challenges on campus around resilience and mental wellness and what's not. So it's a more complex problem, but I think that kind of agreement that you want a more now in the day experience that comes through the process, every stage of the process, from interview, through orientation week, whereas we confiscate your phones for a week, orientation week, nothing. That is something that we definitely can do. And we definitely do that in GB. We do that also in Poland, because I'm involved with both national committees. But I don't know how long-lasting that effect is once students actually get to the Hill, and the situation on different campuses is a bit different to what we are trying to push down and build. But I think if there's consistency and there's like a common goal in actually bringing that vibe back, there is a lot that can be done.
Thank you. Gaurav sir has a response, I think.
Brilliant to hear today, Kinga, your line that here you're more important than the Queen. Good takeaway for me. But I just want to take this opportunity to reassure you that despite the period of time going, I spend a lot of time now with parents, Indian parents over here, who are helicopter parents, as we call them. And you're well aware of that. But I do want to reassure you that the students still don't call their parents I have complaints from all the parents saying, we've lost our children. They don't call us. I had a parent, a father and a mother who came forcibly to meet me and wanted to persuade me for the child to change the subjects that the child was doing. I just took, what happened? You need help? So I just took one look at the mother and the father and said, let's get one thing clear. Either you agree to what he's saying, or he's mine for life and not yours. Make up your mind. You want him to be your child, or he's mine for life. He'll think I'm God and not you. Think this over when you go back home. Thankfully for me, over a period of 6 weeks, he realized his own decision-making of his parents was in the right direction, and he ended up doing exactly what they wanted. But the difference was that he made the decision himself, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. But on the other hand, they also complained that, when he comes home with his friends, it's as good as he didn't come home. So hopefully, what you're saying still continues. It's just in another avatar, as we call it in India, but it's there, and I'm reassured to hear that you still, as parents or as adults, you believe in it now. Hopefully, going forward, the next gen in your lives, whether it's your own children or the children you influence, will definitely have that understanding and that freedom. My daughter benefited, and I'm sure she will. So just to reassure you, I think we're still not lost the plot fully, but we definitely need a lot of help. A lot of help to get things. What Cyrus said is definitely valid. What you said is definitely valid. Resilience, I don't know whether it's gone, not gone. We keep saying our kids are not resilient. Were we very resilient at that time? I don't know. It's really amazing. I mean, David, you spoke about coming to India and finding, what people thought you're coming to India. Imagine my mother talking to her brother is saying, I'm sending Gaurav to study in Las Vegas. And they fell off their chair. You don't send that kid to Las Vegas to study. They didn't know that there was Las Vegas, Nevada, and there was Las Vegas, New Mexico. So UWC USA was in Las Vegas, New Mexico. So a learning for all of us as we go, but it's just amazing. So just to reassure you, we're still on that path. Let's just go forward. I will, other anecdotes later. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you. So we will keep this conversation going, but if I can ask all of you to very, very quickly help us and turn your chairs this way. We have a fun activity lined up. Yep.
Yeah, I think you all are almost, you could move forward. Just facing the screen.
Just face the screen.
Just facing the screen, that's all.
Just face the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for settling in. There are lots of lovely takeaways today in terms of thoughts which you have given me to consider as we go forward. There is a wall in global communication. You influenced in your decision-making process in your subconscious ways. Hearing different sides, it's not what you do, but how you do it. Delve deeper into situations. Education is in a crisis. Send him up to the hill, the devils are over there. Amazing. So I want to also share with you that when I returned from the UWC, we always had a dream for setting up UWC in India. Friends of the UWC was formed, and then things went forward, and we met and we formed a group, and then we did the interviews, we did the searching, we sent the students. And then finally we met Mr. Mahindra, and MUKI was formed in 1993, is when we first formed the Memorandum of Understanding. And then over a period of time, they inducted me onto the board as the youngest kid who had no clue what he was doing there with all these billionaires, but nonetheless, I was always told that we need you to keep the suits in place. So I appreciate that trust, that love that I've always received so far from the family, as well as somebody who influenced, who I was also involved in choosing to be part of MUKI and taking care of MUKI for many, many years. Person who influenced every action that I currently do now, right down to a briefcase which I carry. So I really want to express thanks to this individual, and I'm sure you will be catapulted to a different zone as we go ahead. Please. May I welcome David, so I was just being a little... The sound engineer and me has to speak, so just... you will have to let the silence be for a while, because I'm sure they are shell-shocked to see you. So, as was expected. But I don't know how to thank you for doing this, David, because I remember walking with you last... One of the first people who reached out to congratulate me when I did put my hand or my head into the tiger's mouth was you. And Andrew, my head of academics at UWC USA. And I still remember meeting you when you came all the way. I said, David, I want to come up and meet you at Manchester. And I still remember you said, you are my director, I come and see you. That speaks amazing volume for you, David. And I still remember you walking so fast on the streets of London, and here I'm trying to keep up with you. So you keep saying about age. I think you are a representative of what we should be when we reach that point. So thank you very much for accepting this. If anybody would like to express their love for you, and
you said Cyrus is there. Where is he? Hey, Cyrus!
Hi, David. Great to see you. I don't know if the mic works, but Sharda's here. Hector is somewhere. There he is. Hi, David. So wonderful to see you. Kavita's here as well. So, yeah, lovely.
It's almost like being there. It is so clear. Back in the NBA, my goodness. 15 years have gone. Good grief. Where did it go? But how are you? Are you all doing well? I hope so. fantastic to see you all. I don't know what to say.
Do you want to?
Okay, hi Dr. Wilkinson, it's Prab. We got a lovely tour of going past your house, and all I could think about was the 11.5-hour Lord of the Ring marathon you let us do out there with Mrs. Wilkinson, and among the many other things. It's just amazing to see you.
I will add that we were talking a minute ago, I'm sure you didn't hear it, but Gaurav mentioned how the students are still turning to their colleagues here first for helping with whatever issues they're dealing with. And much the same, you and Veronica were like family and did a wonderful job of welcoming all of us, and cannot say thank you enough.
Well, thank you very much. Many of you are up in this part of the world, up in the hills in Derbyshire. You're very welcome. And actually, I was very lucky. After Veronica died, 3.5 years ago now, my brother-in-law, who was a chef, said to me, listen you, I'm not having you living on takeaway meals and rubbish, I'm going to teach you how to cook. So, I spent 2 years with him, learning how to cook. I do my own cooking now, so you can rely on the good meals. It's a beautiful part of the world. It really is.
Hi, Dr. Wilkinson. This is Ameya here, class of 2004. I don't know if you can see. I think you can. That's it. Yeah? Oh, yeah, sorry, that's the camera. All right, I look at But Dr. Wilkinson, I'm so happy just to see you. I mean, it's such a pleasure. And I must say, I've been in academic institutions after I was in before, but everywhere I go, I always, whoever is the authority figure, I always look for that, you and that person, because I think what the impact that you made on my life, and you probably don't remember, but there was a time I had come to your house, and we had a 3-hour discussion of Soviet history, of the most random thing. I mean, you gave me 4 or 5 big books to read, and of course, thanks to Cyrus, who cultivated a deep interest in history in me. But really, I mean, I know it's a random memory, but I think it's really something how you really encouraged the most random fact in any person that any one of your pupils. So thank you so much. And honestly, even today, when my son's now 2 years old, so whenever we send him to school, I always look for you and the principal or whoever is there. So it's such a pleasure to be here to see you.
Those years at the college were the best years of my whole professional career. And I have not just one group, but everyone who came through to thank for that, because you were very much part of making it the best of my career. Thank you.
Dr. Wilkinson, hello, Amrit here. Just before you got on this call, Gaurav was talking about his experience with some parents. And he told those parents that, if you don't do this and this, they will become mine for life and you will lose them. My father's actually a principal, he's in the education field himself. You are that figure for him. And he often talks about you, he asks about you, because to him, he lost his child to you. As a school principal himself, parents come to him and he tutors so many children. But his own son is more a product of this place, more a product of the legacy and the establishment you made. So yeah, thank you for that.
So, Rohan has something which he wants to share. I think Kinga has offered to be sending you a memento from here, David. So, some memories.
Well, Kinga lives not too far away from me.
Yeah.
And I hope she's got my, wow!
It's made of crochet, and
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so Rohan got this done from here, and we are also going to be sending you something which Sonia has worked hard to get as a memento. It's a lovely, it depicts our no, put it on the black wall. It'll be seen from there, yeah. So it's a nice light which we'll send to you, which has the milky walls on there. So It's a nice lamp. So just so that you will always remember this. I'm sure you have stronger memories, which are much more than this, but they are just subtle things we want to share with you and say that yes, you're always a part of our thoughts, always every action, everything. As I said, especially for me, going forward, I never dreamt that I would ever use this email ID hoc@miyuki.net. So I feel privileged that there's somebody ahead of me who was using it, and when I go back and see your mails which are stored for posterity up there, I'm learning from there as to what I should do and what I should not do also. So it's amazing to have that access to somebody like you. And I've always been fortunate that I can still prevail upon you at any given time. And thank you for always being there, and just holding the hand when it's necessary. Because it's difficult when you're up there, as you know, on the top of the hill over here, especially. So oh, sorry. Please.
Hi, Dr. Wilkinson. Racheli, 2004. I just wanted to say something to you, because you also probably don't remember this, but before graduation, I came to talk to you about having to go back to Israel and do the army. Yeah. And I was at a bind. It was a difficult moment for me, and as always, you and Veronica were a supportive shoulder and someone to come and talk to in those moments. And I think you told me, and I was wondering whether I should go with Nico to London or go back and do the army in Israel. And I believe you told me to follow my heart. And I did, and we're still together, and we have 3 kids, and a lot of it is thanks to your advice, so thank you for this. You want to say hi?
Hi. Hello there. What's your name?
Mila.
Okay, I'm David. Nice to meet you.
Okay, David, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. I know you're caught up with things.
I'll take my leave now then.
Thanks very much, and stay blessed and safe. We'll stay in touch. Thanks very much.
I'm gone.
So thank you for. No, this was something we were all looking forward to for a long time, to get him to be with us. So. Yeah, and he's quite a person. I mean, if you meet him also when Kinga, you'll see he's just so full of energy and so full of positivity. I think if I can use that word for an individual, that's him. Despite what he's gone through, despite him losing Veronica, despite him going through a lot of tumultuous few years, he's just been a rock there and a very, very positive influence on anyone. He doesn't express what he's going through. You have to kind of needle him, and then you'll get to know a lot of things. And he's really been, as I said, a good guide in some ways for me to do what I'm expected to do as a head of college in a lot of ways. Of course, those times are very different, and I have fond memories of Veronica too. When we made the first UWC film, I was a sound engineer there, and then she used to help, and we were just doing lots of things, but it's fond memories as we go. Okay, so since he's already put it there, I have to do a lot more talking. Please bear with me a little bit more, but I'm using this opportunity to share with all of you a kind of dream that we have for Miyuki, a kind of dream which I have for Miyuki, a kind of dream which many of us have for Miyuki. And it's been a very complex process of going through with various groups, stakeholders, everyone involved, right from students to faculty to support staff to friends, recent alumni going forward. Yes, I think what I would love from this presentation is that as we go forward in these coming few weeks, do stay in touch. If you have any thoughts on how you can be part of this plan, I need you all to be part of this journey going forward. We've had too long a time where we had a disconnect. Yes, whether we are ready for the bandwidth of so many of you connecting with a few of us, I have no idea how we're going to do it and what is going to be the way to do it, but at least we're starting a dialogue. So basically, what we have termed as a kind of master plan is because 25 years have gone by. We're now, for the next 25 years, going forward. The complexity for the movement sustenance is becoming very difficult. As you know, getting scholarships is difficult. Getting funding for an institution to run is very difficult. As I keep saying all the while, I need all of you to be involved for the time, talent, or treasure. In any way you can contribute, please reach out and be a part of the system and the movement as we go forward. So this is just to share with you a vision plan which kind of emerged. We have a very, very brilliant architect involved, Harsh Manrao, and Harsh has been, his daughter incidentally is going to join us at MUKI this year as one of my first year students. And there are a lot of thought processes we have where I want to recreate a lot of things which Hector had started at the initial stages. We want to get back to doing a lot of those things that we need to do, but obviously there's going to be a lot of change in our ideology as we go forward and a lot of things which we need to do. So what exactly did we want to do in this master plan? I'm not sure if this is working as usual, technology. Okay. I think we all know what this is about. This is basically what the UWC ideals are, and what we actually came here to do was to try to understand and learn from each other. Yep, you all are fully aware of where we have reached. Our footprint is now in 18 different colleges around the world. When you all were here, we were probably the 10th at that time, or the 11th college at that time when we were there. Yeah. Yuki, when she was kind of midway before, if you see the first few photographs for 97, 98, everything was barren. Everything was barren. And it's marvelous at what you all have done in the few years, in the formative 5-10 years, that we now have truly deep in the heart of MUKI jungle. That's what we have. That's our anthem right now, that our kids have. So sorry, I shouldn't say kids, right? I should say students, as Sarah says. So again, just how lush, the process developed into. We were in 97, the 10th college, 250 students now, 60 countries represented. So what was this process that we were involved with? So we basically reached out to all the stakeholders, and we got to a point where we understood that there are certain things which are what we all need on campus. What is the essence of the UWC experience? What are the thoughts and processes or the principles? Can we continue that in our architecture? Can it be implemented in the same way? And then, of course, how are we going to go about it? The same thing in a little bit more of a complex way as we go forward. So the mission statement, I think we all know. It's nothing new for all of us, but how do we, what is the important part of this mission statement? So we have two people who were really influencing, apart from obviously Nelson Mandela, who has been there right through. Harish Ji, who's Mr. Anand Mahindra's father, and who was really the person behind getting this going. They had certain thoughts, they had certain viewpoints, and they had a certain vision for the place. Harish Ji's statement, which I really love, is the question of independent thought. And that's something which all of you have expressed today, a place where you could have independent thought. Today, yes, thanks to, as you all have brought out, internet and Instagram and all these things, your independent thought is no longer, are we at a safe place anymore? Because whatever you have here just goes out in an instant, and then you have other antisocial elements or external elements wanting us to change. So that's another thought process that we need to understand. I love Nelson Mandela's statement where he says, breaking barriers of habit. So two interesting thoughts came out from our vision statement that we're going forward. The two words which really came through from the students as well as faculty as well as everyone was we need to have a sense of responsibility. Responsibility has so many aspects. You can look at it whether it's for the biodiversity, whether it's for community engagement, whether it's for resource management. But apart from that, most importantly, we have to make sure that we have the spirit of being unbound and having the spirit of being creative, compassionate, and thinking also of the larger good, as everyone says. These are all the words which you all have used today. If you all will really sit back and think, these are exactly your thoughts which are being represented here. And I'm happy to see that there's a reflection that we are doing that. So obviously it means a revamp of the place. We're going to have to figure out where we go, the current situation, how to handle it. We have to figure out all these things which we are going forward with. It was very helpful for us now, just like you all are connecting. Since last year, there's been a lot of cohesion between the heads of all the UWCs. It's very nice to see the way there is this congenial and as well as compassionate, as empathic attitude that we have among the heads. We have a lot of one-to-one, we lift the phone and speak, we share best practices and awareness of each other. I was very fortunate that I could get our architects to go to visit UWC Singapore. Nick was really helpful there to make him comfortable. UWC Adriatic, we have Khalid there, who's really, really helpful in getting Aparna, who was here before as the head of student life, is now with them. So it was very, very useful for us to have our architect also understand how other UWCs function and what do they have, what are their best practices, what can we take from there, if at all we need to change in some ways. And obviously it was very useful for me to reach out to the student bodies in most of the other UWCs to get campus tour videos. So we have some very nice, we built an archive of lovely campus tour videos of what it feels like when a student arrives at those UWCs going forward. We need to now have a good campus tour video of MUCI 2 going forward as we have. We have a few, we need to get them done. Then we had something called a very lovely workshop, an experience workshop, or two of them, wherein we sat and we discussed and we laid down all the points. And it's not just us, it was everyone. It was the students from faculty, staff, as I said, all the stakeholders were present, including Rohan, who was there with us to guide us through as also alumni and INC head over there. Now, obviously, we want to expand this thought process going forward. Interesting thing which came out was that the experience had a lot of surprises, and I'm sure you all have had surprises when you came. So, but there were also interesting, a word came out was there were many sacrifices you made when you came here. There were many things which you lost when you came here. So it's interesting when we use the word lost, we always think it's negative, but it's actually a positive thought that you lost your sense of arrogance. You lost your sense of being the best when suddenly you find everyone around you kind of is one of the best. So you lost a lot of the negatives that we had, and it's a way to look at things in some ways, but there were also sacrifices that you made, and each of you has your own aspects of sacrifice, I'm sure, at that time. So how does this translate into the architectural vocabulary? So we need to look at spaces which are flexible, which are memorable in our architecture. So despite whatever we complain about the water and the leakage and everything, the MUCI walls have a distinct trademark. I mean, you just have to show that wall and you know it's MUCI. It's that iconic, just a stone background. Principles, yes, of sustenance and obviously to enhance the human experience. Now, I'm not an architect, but I'm beginning to now understand how things are connected. Now, these are some of the challenges which I'm sure have been faced even at your times, things like limited natural light. Why do we have such a large room, but you have such a small window? You know, that kind. These are questions which these current students even ask us. So I don't really have those answers, but we're looking at how to be able to adapt. Lighting, heat, you know, there's so many of those kind of issues. Insects, fenestration, windows, doors, shutting. You need to accept all of these when you come here, but at the same time, we need to protect ourselves also from it, because times have changed today, and it's necessary for us to to be concerned about health in a lot of ways. It just spreads to everyone. So obviously looking at building systems which are now 25 years old, we need to look at our classrooms, we need to look at our science block. If you have a campus tour, you will get to see, I don't know if Rohan has showed you, our science classrooms are still as they were 25 years back, which there's a lot which needs to change in terms of safety, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facilities that are there. We do need to be able to match up. But how do we do all of this without shutting the school down? That's going to be the tough one that we're trying to figure out. So which was very interesting because in the last reunion we had a few of you who are specialists in alternative construction materials. So we have lots of ideas of prefab constructions which come here and then you assemble them. So you only have the slab which is there. So, I mean, I'm using language which I'm just saying, I don't really understand it. But at the same time, yes, it's something which needs to be understood and explored and going forward. And if it is with the help of some of you as ex-students, fantastic. I mean, in whatever way possible. So engineering approaches have been changed and we have to look at all of that as we go forward. This is just the same. We have to continue to have efficiency and obviously rain protection. There are a lot of those things and the same thought process. I think from here, the only thing that I want to take away most importantly will be the fact that we need to look at something which can survive this environment over the years as we go forward. It's quite, I mean, earlier, all alumni used to say we don't want to come in the rains. But I hope that we have managed to make it slightly better for you this time. And you would love the rains because it's the prettiest time to come. So as long as we can ensure that there are enough covered spaces and we can ensure that we've taken care of the mosquito issues and we can take care of that, it's a lovely time to come. But that's something which we need to work at, those kind of things. We moved the bio-STP from here because it was a nightmare of having mosquitoes here and I moved it 1 kilometer down. I have no understanding why it was built here in the first place. So it's one of the biggest things, first few things I did when I came here. I said, you do not build a toilet in your living room. So, I mean, brickbats aside, I'm not saying that we don't have a bio-STP now. We need to go ahead with that and we will go ahead with it. We do believe in sustainability. We do believe in all of that. But it has to have some practicality to it. And that's what we are all trying to work together as going forward to ensure that that's there. So as many of expert voices are involved, it helps to correct something as we go forward. None of us is what is the right word for it? Infallible. I mean, we do make mistakes. We all do. And we do need to correct what we go forward. And I think that's the first step in this whole thing that we do. So yes, usable slopes, we have some lovely spaces. How will we use them? I'll just share with you in the drawings that we are looking at as we go forward. Climate, parcels of land, all those are, this is just the same way. So there's an interesting thought also which the architect has thought of doing where we have a path going all the way around the whole entire campus, including part of the biodiversity. Why are they not linked that we can actually go through the whole thing and come back and spend like a whole day going through it? It's so beautiful, you know, how to make that a next level. So obviously this brought us to a lot of things. The biodome you have seen in the state it's in right now. If you've not, please go and see it. What do we do with it? We need to make sure that we do have something in its place which is done. It's redundant. As of now, unfortunately, yes. If it had been maintained in the manner it was needed, it would have been something brilliant. Refresh. A lot of things need to be looked at with a different mindset going forward. Introduce a lot of new things which were not done at MUCI before. We talk about going hiking. Why can't we have a rock climbing practice thing created so that our kids don't fall off the slope to learn, students fall off the slope and learn the hard way that's how you do rock climbing. So there is a lot of things which we can look at. I mean, we don't have to, but there are various thought processes. The ideal version, optimal version, you know, so those kind of thought processes we can go. And a lot of things which I think are doing well and we should retain, you know, so there's things like that. There have been a lot of thought processes of locations of things. The concept is for having things close to it. For example, we have a plot of land right on the riverfront. Why can't our kayaks be stationed over there? so that whenever you want to go kayaking, you don't have to lug the kayaks all the way. First put them into a vehicle, take them all the way down, get them out there, then you've lost a good hour in that whole process. So just thought processes which were not done in the past for whatever be the reasoning. If we can just apply those thought processes now, how do we go about it going forward? If you all haven't done kayaking, unfortunately, the river and the rain may not permit it, but it's lovely to go out on the kayaks and on the river. So I think from this, the only thing I want to take away is future proofing. Whatever we do now, because funding is tight, any part or any aspect of this movement, whatever we do, we have to ensure that that's not wasted or that is done with a lot of procrastination and thinking and then taken a step going forward. I'm very happy to say that I have the support. The board is really keen on taking a lot of these things forward. And with Mr. Mahindra himself involved, some of you who were not there on the first day may have missed his message, but he's really very keen to make that difference that we need to do here. And part of that dream, as he says, is to carry all of you along with it, please. Be involved in whatever way going forward. So just to give you a kind of look, that's our footprint which is there, which is going forward. And that blue thing down there is basically the plot which is on the riverfront, where we can look at certain things to do. The housing, everything is there. That's the interesting part that we're looking at also, is to build campsites which can be used by us as just one flat surface like this. When you go out there, you can carry all your camping equipment, carry all your tents, carry everything, set them up over there, but you at least have a floor which is there, which is reasonably neat, which is flat space. That is just so that, because you may have in the initial stages, obviously, people who come who have never slept on grass and definitely not had ants crawl into their pants at that time. So things like that, slowly breaking you into what is the thing, and then take it to the next, go behind, and you have a completely set up space which is in the open. You're welcome to do what you want if you have the confidence levels to go so. So a lot of thought processes, should we do that now? Do we have the funds to do it? Those calls we'll take as we go. But a lot of ideation, a lot of thought processes have gone into building a library refurbishment. We have to look at the art center. We have to look at, so all of you involved with the arts will know what needs to be changed in the art center as we go forward. Filmmaking, which actually started here, and I don't know how many of you know, but in 97, 98, the first pilot for filmmaking as a curriculum, or as film studies as a curriculum, as a pilot study was done at MUKI. And I'm sure many of you do know that the IB was actually created for the UWCs. So why is it that other IB schools think they are superior, when actually at the end of the day, when one of you said, IB is not taught anywhere else than the way it's taught here. And that's really a truth. It's really a fact which I can proudly say when I now go as a representative on the IB World Schools Forum, people literally move away and give me space because they understand what we go through at the UWC to teach the IB. And there's a difference of teaching it here and teaching it at most of the schools. Do we get teachers? That's the tough one as we go forward, because we need to have teachers also understand what a UWC is. So all of you, look for the good teachers, send us information. All of you, become good teachers. And in the next gens, let's inculcate this thought process in everyone, that we need to have this as a movement requires our support now, more than anywhere else. MUKI needs your support going forward. We all need to figure it out. So I'm one of the first ex-students who has become a head of college. Why is that? 40 years down the line. So jokingly, I was told the last heads retreat, you're not the first, Gaurav. There was somebody before you at UWC USA. But yes, you are the first who survived. So what is it, So it's something which we really need to see. So this is a vision that kind of we have. That's as you can see, that whole pathway which is going to go is one, and that goes further away, straight all the way to the campsite that we're referring to. So a lot of thought, a lot of ideas, that we're looking at, and once I have visualizations, of course we will share. There are lots of aspects to it. There's yoga, there's meditation center. I mean, you can just ideate and think of what all we can do over here. Being a musician, I regret that we don't offer music as a subject in this school. So it's sad, and yeah, and it's been many years. So yeah, so there's a lot being looked at as we go forward. The topology, as you can see, it's beautiful, and what we can do, what we encompass from this as we go forward. So Kurt Hahn made a very interesting, I mean, of course, Kurt Hahn is known most for the statement where he said he puts two students or two children from different parts of the world, puts them out on a boat and sends them on the English Channel and hopes that Lord God, and they have to learn to fight out their differences and reach the other side. That's the kind of statement I recall first when I met his niece 2 years ago on what his philosophy and thought was. But he always said this too, you know, that there is much more in us than we know. And I think that's pretty much what it's about. And if we get to know that, we would never settle for less. So I go back to my saying, I have a dream, we have a dream, and I hope you guys have a dream for Miyuki. So be a part of it as in whatever ways you can. Time, treasure, talent. Or time, talent, treasure. That way. Because why am I saying it in that order? When we start out in life, when you leave the UWC, you can only offer time and talent. It's only after you reach a certain stage in life that maybe you can give back treasure. So that's what the phase we are all at in, and now we need to look at probably giving back the treasure so that this movement can survive, or the school can survive, or this ideology can survive. So let's partner in whatever going forward. I have no plans. This is just a thought of what we want to do. It's really thanks, since you guys are the last reunion we're having, I take this opportunity to thank my team, really, right starting with Rohan, right up to, you know, Sonia and her entire team for making this reunion happen. So this was just to connect. We need to connect, we need to just bond in some ways. I understand carbon footprint, I understand all those things. But at the same time, if we do not have this connect where you have, you know, some kind of a vibe exchanging, we will be disconnected. So we do need to have that going forward, and I'm thankful that, you know, Cyrus also came today. Hector has been in connect with us over this last 1 year, and it's been so reassuring, you know, that if I have an issue, I can lift the phone and speak, you know. So we have already got him in because I was very upset as to why I keep calling it the maze, but it's so much more than that, you know. It's amazing the philosophy which was used. One of your maths teachers, you said? She had Anna, or somebody you said. It's amazing how the four entry points and they go to the center. I mean, these are things which we are losing, you know. Some can laugh at it. But in times of today when we are talking about mental health and we are talking about focusing, I think these are the things which will eventually help us, and I think will help our students too going forward that we are going. I am very thankful and very appreciative of all of you, especially those who have brought families. I really want to thank the spouses because I don't know if I said it earlier, but my wife now understands that all the amount you all have spoken to your spouses about UWC. So thanks to them that they are still appreciating and allowing you to live out your beliefs and the love for the place, and allowing you all to come once again like this. So thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of the evening. It's going to be quite a party, I can assure you. They have planned something very well, and those of you here tomorrow, as much as possible, unwind. I've told them let's not do the visit to the NGOs. Use your time here. You can have an experience of what the NGO is, the explanation of whatever Dora, you are already aware, but use your time just to unwind, just to take in the aura of the place, and your memory is refreshed. And day after, if you all are down in the morning, some are there, maybe I'll get to see all of you. Tomorrow is my wedding anniversary, so I am stepping out for a little bit of a time, just for me time, for a short time. But we will come back. and catch up with you also. Somebody else?
Beautiful.
Yes. 27. So now 27. So in fact, the first thing my wife did after marriage, 96 I'm referring to, we got back home, and within that 4 days later, we were on a small charter plane of 7 people landing in Pune for the stone laying ceremony with Mr. Mahindra and the whole, just 7 of the other heads of the UWCs from different UWCs came. We came to do the stone laying ceremony. And Monica is with me, and I'm trying to tell her, this is not my life. This is not my life. I don't travel in private planes. This is once that will happen. But that's the first experience she got as soon as I got home after marriage. So ours was an arranged marriage. So obviously, there was no teething an explanation to what a UWC is about. This was her first exposure. Oh, this is what it's about. You travel in private planes and choppers and things like that. So, but lovely. So I guess some of you will meet her in the evening when she's here, and we can. Thank you once again. What's left? Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much once again for coming.
All those of you who need transport tomorrow on Monday, please come and see me. We need to figure out the logistics. Thank you.
Switch off lights? But I'm tuned. Okay. Is that right? How much?